about 3 productivity hacks that are going to change the game for you and help your business print money on autopilot. Because we're always looking as business owners for the next solution, the next strategy, the next juicy thing, the tweak in our content, the next little Instagram hack to have more followers, how to create a better hook for email list, or things like that. Sometimes we overlook some of the really important part of building a business and having something that is just so easy on your nervous system, that is like a foundation of building the business of your dreams. I will share 3 things that are gonna make such a difference if you don't already have them in your business. They are so underrated. It's hilarious to me that some girls are wanting to spend thousands of dollars in mentorship, thinking it's gonna blow up their businesses when they don't even have that covered. Welcome back. Happy Friday. We're in the Christmas vibe, as you can see. For those on YouTube, I have my Christmas tree. It is not decorated yet, but we're feeling the winter vibe. We're feeling the Christmas, soon is the holiday vibe. And also, it's the end of the year. The year is closing. Everyone is looking back on the year that just happened, all the progress we have made, and all the things that we still have to accomplish in our businesses. So to start 2026, best prepared 2026, I really want you to understand how important the 3 things I'm going to talk about today are, because they are the things that people overlook because it's easy or it's boring or it's just really not sexy. Of course, if we're talking about a strategy or an email sequence that are going to turn your ideal client into buyers, like this is so juicy and exciting. What are we going to talk about today? To me, it is exciting. To anyone with a Virgo moon like me, it's going to be exciting. To anyone passionate about structure and the kind of system that makes you really successful in your business, because they are doing the heavy lifting for you and you don't have to burn yourself out. To all those people, it's going to sound sexy, but I'm not sure it's the sexiest part of business, but it is so freaking important, especially if you're starting this new year thinking, this is my time. This is my time. I want to blow up in my business. I want to work with my absolute dream clients. I want to be obsessed with my clients. I want to be obsessed with my brand. I want to be obsessed with everything that I'm building. And I want to create the kind of structure in my business that feels so good on my nervous system so that I can actually relax and enjoy the journey and not just feel like I'm always in a rat race, searching and running after the next launch or the next income or the next client, and I'm always stretching myself. There is so much beauty in doing that, but today, let's hack it. Right? It's productivity / organization hacks that are going to be game changer for you. I'm going to try as much as possible to be as detailed as possible, because I don't know about you, but there is something I absolutely adore. And I don't know if it's because I'm nosy as fuck or just like so curious, but what I love is seeing the behind the scenes of people, like how they actually run their businesses. I have this tendency when I see someone posting their schedule online to even screenshot it so I can zoom in to see how they organize their days, what they do, what are the tasks in their businesses. If I'm in a coaching call or a masterclass of all sorts and the mentor is like sharing their screen, I will be looking for when they flip screen and it's not the presentation that they have for the masterclass, but it's actually like their personal behind the scene things, like how they are organized, their Google Docs and everything. I'm just a sucker for this. Please tell me I'm not the only one, because I just love to know how other people are running their businesses, and not just the visible promotion calendar or the visible branding, all of that. I love to know the day-to-day silly things that happen, like when they fucking show up to the computer, what do they do first? How do they organize their shit? So I'm going to try to be that for you today, even though I'm not sharing my screen with you, but I'm going to try to give you as much as possible the feeling so that it's not just big concept, but it's actually very tangible, practical things that you can implement right away and see a difference right away. Because let me tell you something, I've been in business for the last 7 years, and those hacks are so freaking simple. They're ridiculously simple, but they make a difference, and they made a difference for me at different time in my journey, but it was always almost instantly. Hack number 1 is your schedule. This is actually something I learned from my mentor. I kind of always heard people organizing their days with themed days, but I kind of had an idea of how I run my businesses, and some tasks were coming back every single week on the same day. So I was like, oh, I kind of have that. But when I pushed it and really put it in my calendar, put it down in my calendar, what do I do each day? And every week it's the same. It made me feel like such a business owner. Like, it's so silly, right? When you start your business on pure passion and you learn the business aspects along the way, sometimes your days are just so chaotic you don't even realize. You don't realize they are chaotic because you have a very long to-do list. You can never actually run through that to-do list in one day or even through the week. And you just feel like things are piling up and you always have something to do. You're always so busy. So you feel like you're so freaking busy. But there is this feeling that emerge of not really feeling legit. I remember this feeling when people asked what I did, especially when it was like away from this conscious spiritual business mindset development world. Like, every time I was faced with like quote unquote the real world, the outside world, if my parents or friends of my parents, people at daycare, parents of my partner, like all those people that are not doing what we do, that are not in our industry, that don't get what we get. Every time I had to introduce myself, I just felt like I wasn't fully legit for a very long time. And this feeling is obviously a lot of mindset, but it was also a lot of tangible thing because we believe what we do a lot. So when we show up so scattered, just showing up to the business, feeling like we're just in survival mode in a way, like we're just going through that to-do list that is crazy, trying to create, trying to launch the next thing, running with just our inspiration and creative energy, we don't feel 100% legit. But when you have a week that is scheduled in your calendar with recurring tasks, it makes you feel like a legit business because that's what businesses do. Sometimes that helps even a lot more than just the mindset work. Like, you can manifest and say your affirmation about how legit you are and how much of a CEO you are. It's in those little moments of day-to-day organization that you're gonna reinforce to yourself how much of a CEO you actually are. And it sounds silly even for people that have been in business for so many years, right? It's like, duh, but sometimes, as I said, the foundations are lacking or they're shaky or they're not strong enough, so you cannot catapult your results further because you don't have that strong base. So the strong base for me this year especially was coming back to a practice that I have heard before, that I kind of tried, that I kind of had, but to really stick to it because of my mentor. She actually really reinforced how important that was for her in her business and how it made a difference for her. So I was like, interesting. I really love her business model. I really love her results. I really love her life. I really love how she shows up. I want the same kind of business. Just my own, but I want the same kind of business. So I'm going to listen to what this girl has to say. So when she was talking about themed days, meaning what it looks like for me personally, what I've implemented this year that I made a huge difference is on Fridays. I'm going to start by the end of the week because you're going to see how it makes sense. On Fridays, I plan all of my content for the next week. So I research what I want, I organize my content, I write the caption, and I write down everything that I need to be able to record on Mondays. So Mondays is where I actually create the content. I record the videos if I need videos. I do the subtitles, the edit, like all of the actual creation process, writing the caption, putting it in drafts on the app if I need to. Sometimes I don't do that because this year I had the problem so many times of my freaking Instagram app completely shutting down many times and I lost all of my drafts. So I keep everything safe on my phone, ready to post every single day so that I stay consistent. On Tuesday and Thursdays, they're my clients' day. So this is where I have my clients, I take calls. This is where I focus on building trainings. This is just purely for my clients. Wednesdays are for podcast days. So I'm recording today. We are Wednesday. I record the podcast. I edit the podcast. I do the descriptions of the podcast. Everything connected to my podcast, I do on Wednesdays. I also have admin days. So I do that usually later on Tuesdays. I shared again the example of me. You don't have to follow this exact same thing. It must make sense for your business. But the reason why I'm sharing it is that you have an idea, like you can actually visualize what it looks like. The most important thing is to write down every single task that you have to do in your business on repeat, like the things that you do every single week. And then you organize them in themed. If you create content for your brand, then you have content creation days. That is helping you to not feel like a fucking influencer when you know your job is not to be an influencer. When you know your job is to coach people or to run a business of any kind, and you don't want to feel like you're running after content all week, at least you have your content days because you're prioritizing the power of creating content for your brand, but you're not feeling overwhelmed by the whole process because you have to show up every day. I see it so much. I've seen it in my own journey and I see it with my clients too, how they are so frustrated because they spend so much time on content that they feel like they're suddenly content creators and they even forget that they have another job. They don't forget. They just feel so overwhelmed because they're constantly creating content and worrying about content and feeling like content is the only way to bring in the clients and they have to focus on that. When you start to implement theme days, you have, for example, in my case, I have 2 days in the week dedicated content. I mean, we could say 3 because the podcast is content as well. It's a form of content, but I have days dedicated, hours dedicated, actually scheduled in my Google Calendar. It's not in my head. It's written down in my calendar. That helps me feel like I'm not just a content creator. I'm actually a coach. I run a business. I have different tasks to do in my business. So I have to have days where I'm doing the other things that needs to be done in my business. It helps me to stay organized, but it also helps me to remove the decision fatigue because if it's put in my schedule, then I don't have to think about it twice. I just show up, open my Google Calendar, and I know exactly what to do every single day. That being said, I'm a creative, probably just like you. I receive downloads and inspiration sometimes at random days. Sometimes I don't want to follow through with the actual schedule, and that's okay. I allow myself some flexibility, but I think that too much flexibility also ruins my business and ruins a lot of progress. Like I see it with so many people. They're crying about the lack of results, but they're not sticking to anything. They don't have a plan. They don't have a structure. And structuring your days can make a huge difference already. For me, my business is legit and I'm really showing up strategically and I can be even more productive because I don't have to make a decision every single day of like what I'm going to do on my to-do list and then focusing on the things that I feel like doing, avoiding the things that I don't feel like doing, and ending up never really moving the needle forward. Hack number 2 is to have systems. Okay, so systems can mean a lot of things, but you want things to do the heavy lifting for you so that you can be peaceful, so that you can focus on your passion, on your craft, on what you're really good at, on your clients, and on creating the best experiences, the best products, and the best thing. Right? So that you are the best in your industry. And so you really stand out because of how much heart and passion you put into things. So in order to do that, you cannot freaking be exhausting by your day to day. You cannot be exhausting with doing repetitive tasks over and over again. You need systems. I shared about how some of my clients are easily overwhelmed with content, how I used to be overwhelmed with content. I needed a content system. I needed a repurposing system so that I never run out of ideas, and I'm removing that decision making process that can be so heavy and stressful and lead to burnout eventually. But I also needed a financial system. I needed a plan for where the money is going when the money is entering, because in my past, when I had very successful launches, big income of money, I didn't know how to handle the money and I was blowing up this money because I felt like it was money in my pocket. I never actually saw my business as this entity, as this business. So I was just like, this is pocket money. I'm making $10,000 in a month. This is pocket money. Let me go and have the lifestyle that I've always wanted to have. And I hired a private chef and going to do massages and facials and stuff like this every single day, almost every single day, and buying designer stuff and doing all the things that I projected I wanted to do with bigger income. And there is nothing wrong with that, but I was just not financially organized. I didn't have the financial systems in my business that I could see in the future of like, well, maybe I made $10,000 this month, but maybe next month I'm not going to have as much of a big launch, as much as a big influx of money. So what happens in 3 months' time? I needed to have system for when the money is coming in, a split with different percentages of this goes towards investment, this goes towards money in my pocket, paying off my debt, training, education, future investment. I had to have a system to split everything. Systems can also mean in our organization. For instance, I know so many people that think that because they are in this overwhelm, they want to do it all, and because having a business and being an entrepreneur is freaking hard. They think that if they hire people, it's going to be easier because they're going to be able to delegate. What they're not aware of is that when you delegate, you actually add a little bit more work to yourself initially because you have to train someone. And in order to train someone to actually help you and to make it make sense so that you have an actual return on your investment of hiring someone, they will have to be efficient. For them to be efficient, you need to be efficient. You cannot delegate chaos. If it's already such a freaking mess, what are you delegating? You're going to have to guide this person, those people, if you want to hire multiple people. So if you're already disorganized and already burned out by your own shit, you're just going to bring someone else to manage the shit with you. Thinking that we going to magically hire and it's going to lift off weight off our shoulders, it's just a fantasy in our heads of like, I just wish I could delegate. I just wish I could hire. And I've been there, girl. So I really know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. It's your body screaming for systems, screaming for structure, and screaming for organization. So that's what I'm trying to provide to you today. So having systems in place, for instance, if you have a podcast, what are your systems? Do you have a strong organization where you can come back and lean back into so that you do the same process over and over and over again? It's very clear and you know exactly that you record that day and then you extract the file and then you edit and then you do the descriptions and the title and the highlights and the little clips and then you upload and then you do this and then you do that. If you have your systems in place and it's always the same, you just bring more organization to the chaos. And then you hire someone and it's not the chaos and they can actually be with you and help you because they know exactly what to do. They know for each task of the business that is actually producing money, they know what to do. But you have to remember that if you're at this point of hiring or thinking, fantasizing about hiring, you're going to have to train those people. You're going to have to be there for those people. And you're going to have to be the leader that you are. Because if you're hiring for your business, it means that you are the boss. You are the one in charge. And so being the boss means being someone who holds the container for other people as well, who can give a direction. So my advice is that if you feel absolutely chaotic and disorganized, I know it's an amazing fantasy in your head to think that someone is going to come in and save you, but it would be a lot more empowering to save yourself first, to get organized and to feel strong in yourself, like you can manage this business, but it's getting too big for you, or you just really want to lift off your shoulders some of the weight because it's not making sense for you anymore to not delegate those tasks, but also know that you're going to have to be training someone. So if you have system, it's so much better. Another system that I wanted to talk about is the repurposing system. I talked about how I have a system for my content. When you learn about content and what you shoot and post and what kind of content you make, it's so easy to get overwhelmed, isn't it? You have different types of content between like attraction content, conversion content. You have different style, like the viral trends, more storytelling, more promotional, more educational. You start to have different categories. And then you have different formats. You have face-to-camera videos. You have short B-roll clips with just a hook and then everything in caption. You have everything on hooks. You have carousels. You just have so much. So it gets messy and you're like, what should I freaking post? And then you completely burn out and drone into, oh my God, I need to show up and I don't know what kind of content I should post. And it's crazy. And then you have many ideas, but it doesn't make sense. It's kind of not really cohesive. So the system here that you can have is a very strong repurposing system, which means that from one piece of content that you could create, when you're super creative, when you're super passionate, when you have this fire, you can then turn that into multiple sources of content so that you never run out of ideas and you also don't burn out trying to always create from scratch. This is super exhausting. You cannot expect yourself, especially if you're a woman with a cycle, you cannot expect yourself to be creative all day, every day, and to always start from scratch. You need a system in place so that you can rinse and repeat and do better and audit your content, and then you move forward week after week. You move forward, and every single piece of content is strategic, and you're always moving in the right direction without burning out, without feeling freaking exhausting, and without getting crazy about content. This is what I do with my clients. I learned so many different systems from so many other mentors, and then I kind of Frankenstein my style so that it makes it easy, and I have everything so easily accessible in a Google Doc so I can see exactly what I can post this day. Again, I'm very creative and crazy, so does that mean I'm going to follow through to the T exactly how it is in my schedule? Sometimes not. To be transparent, a lot of times no. But I have the system so I can always lean back on that. And when I get overwhelmed because I've been in my creative bubble and just being spontaneous about content for a long time, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not inspired anymore, I don't know what to do, I always come back. I have that kind of backbone that you can always lean on. Basically, everything that we talk about today, but especially when it comes to system, this is the backbone of your business. This is the skeleton that helps you to stay strong, and so that when life happens, you can always come back to it. Hack number 3 is going to sound so silly for some of you, but it's going to make such a huge difference. Is to keep your files organized. I don't know how to say it in a better, sexier way. There is no sexy way. This is actually so sexy. When you have everything in a spreadsheet, in a Google Doc, everything is organized with titles. You can always access every single file that you're working on. If you tend to download a lot of things and you never go through your download folder, that was me. This is still me. This is something I'm fighting against. I used to have just a fucking chaos in my notes. Every time I had an idea for a podcast or something, now I have like podcast templates. I always go back to that. I don't get crazy. I have one note with my to-dos, and then everything is on my calendar, as I said, so that it's all tidy and organized. It sounds so silly, but first of all, again, it reinforces your identity as the CEO, as the business owner, someone that is legit, someone that is organized. It makes you feel like so relaxed. Like your nervous system can finally excel. Like you can excel because you know where things are. You don't get overwhelmed by the mess. It's just slick. It's something that I'm so big on that I actually spend a lot of time with my clients working through, because this is a daunting process. This is not fun, but once it's done, this will help your business go so much faster, because all of those little frictions of trying to find the latest Canva thing in your download folder that is all messy with a billion different things. Every time you have a little friction of a little act like that, it slows you down. It creates chaos. It creates friction. It creates a sense of struggle. Like I'm struggling to access this file. And then you're in your head and you're not focused and you're not productive because we're already so distracted, and you don't need more distraction of searching through your fucking files. Even on my phone, I have folders with every type of video and content, like me or essential or more vlog style, or for every offer, like everything that is connected to Business Activator, everything that is connected to Femme Sensuelle, everything that is connected to other projects I have, keep them in their separate folders. I have a folder for days where I don't know what to post. So I have a I don't know what to post folder, which is just stories that I've already posted with a whole story arc that I can easily repost, either tweaking a few things or reposting it as it is, because most people don't remember anyway, and not everyone is saying your stories every single time. My Google Doc is so organized. Even if I'm brainstorming ideas for the podcast, I'm going to have it in a Google Sheet with the main desire and pain point of my client and what it can relate to in my personal story, so that it can be anecdotal about it, and then what kind of title or hook can it be, and then what it links to as an offer, and everything is organized like that in a file. And that's just so sexy to me because, again, I can relax, I can really enjoy being a business owner and not feeling like super freaking overwhelmed every time. And it's really in those small things like that that is going to make the difference between someone who is like, I'm building a business and it's just on pure passion versus someone who is also really passionate, who is also like has the heart in the business, the desire and the motivation, but also the structure, the organization, and the actual backbone that makes the second archetype go 10 times faster and make a lot more money and bring a lot more clients. You have to think that if you are in the coaching space or service provider space, the way you are organized is saying so much about you. I know I had people hiring me just by seeing the process I have with my clients. I also have systems for my clients. They have a Trello board with everything, every recap, all the homeworks, every documents, like everything is sleek, tidy, and organized so we can always know what's going on and we have an actual view on the process and the progress. It makes it easier for me as a coach, but it makes it easier for them. And I had people hiring me solely based on me sharing my screen and them seeing how organized it is. It makes people trust you because they have this perception of you that you have your shit together. Who actually has their shit fully together? I don't know. That's definitely another topic. But for sure, I love to hire people that I know have the systems in place. If I see someone super chaotic in their personal organization, they can be an amazing healer, an amazing artist, an amazing yoga teacher, an amazing photographer, an amazing communication agency. If the person I feel is shaky and it's all disorganized and you feel like this person is in panic all the time, you don't trust them. You don't go to them. You don't spend your money on them. And if you do, you do it with like, I don't know if I can trust them. This is also a big part of raising your rates. I know it's a completely different topic for another episode, but if you want to comfortably raise your rates, you want to feel like you're on top of your own shit. So if you want your business to print money on autopilot, you need that foundation. That made such a difference in my own experience. You just have no idea. It is obviously not the only thing that you need when you run a business, but this is part of the foundation that you cannot bypass, because if you don't do it when you're starting or as soon as possible, then it will catch up with you years later. You will have success, you will have client coming in, and it's going to be even more of a mess. And eventually you're going to burn out. How many people in this space, in this industry actually burned out? I feel like everyone went through some form of burnout. Entrepreneurship is freaking hard. So if we can do everything in our power to make it a little easier, a little bit more seamless, and we create like a better experience for ourselves. So we also are better for our clients. Clients can trust us and people are more inclined to pull their wallet. So by now, I hope that you're convinced that it's super freaking important. It's going to make such a difference between you and the girl next door. If you want to position yourself as an industry leader at your own scale, right? But you just want your community, your people to be obsessed with you and to be obsessed with your business, this is something you cannot bypass. And this is something that will make such a difference. And this is what people talk about when they say like strategy, system, structure, all those terms that we feel like are so enticing and we're so appealed by them, but we also don't really know what it means. This is part of it. There are so many other components of running a business, but hopefully today with those 3 productivity hacks, I helped you get that feeling of like you're behind the scene a little. And if you have further questions because it was not clear enough or because it was still like very big concept to you, and you're actually curious, you can always reach out to me on Instagram and we can chat about it. Just see how you can be more efficient in your business so that things move faster for you. And we can also bring you back to your genius so that you stay in your genius and you're not overwhelmed by the whole business side of business. And if you want to take it a level deeper and really merge this hardcore strategy with feminine energetics and a lot of somatic work, and you know that you're ready to level up your business in 2026 and to actually have results even before the end of the year. We still have 3 weeks to go. A lot can happen in 3 weeks. So if you know that's you want to take Business Activator, my one-on-one container, where I help you to set up all of the processes and the systems in your business so that we can skyrocket your income, bring more aligned clients, and bring you back to your genius so that you can be in your zone of genius doing what you love and running a business that you're so proud of, a brand that people obsess over, and that premium buyers cannot stop buying from. So you can reach out to me directly on Instagram so we can talk about it, or you can also apply directly. And if by the time you're watching this video, all the spots are filled already, you can also join the waitlist for the next cohort. I wish you a very beautiful rest of your day, and I talk to you next Friday. Mwah.